All right, y'all. It's Brian Forbes. Y'all know what time it is. We here, and we getting ready to get into it. And as you all know, I could
Brian
not
Forbes, y'all know what
allow
time it is.
this
We here.
week to go by
Ready to get into it.
without addressing the
And
obvious
as you all know,
elephant in the room.
I could not y'all know what time it is.
What that is.
We here.
Week to go by. That's going to be
into
Buffalo,
it
y'all.
without
We got to talk
addressing
about it.
the
We have to have a discussion about what's taking place,
What
or what has taken place in Buffalo, New York.
Buffalo, y'all. We got to talk about
There are many
about what's taking
issues
place.
that I'm going to deal with
What
today.
has taken place.
I can just tell you like this.
There are many
Get your drinks ready. Get your snacks and beverages, because I'm going to tell you some things. It's going to give you something real heavy to think about. Let me start by saying, let me welcome my oh so smooth family for coming in tonight. Over there with my man DJ Shorty Smooth. Black Factor family, we appreciate you like we always do. Thank you. Don't forget y'all hit that subscribe button. You can check it on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. Because we are going to get into this thing.
Thank you.
And it's going to be something else, y'all. Someone says they hear an echo, and I apologize for that because I don't know how to get into this thing. Boom, how about that? Okay. So tonight, y'all, everybody knows what happened in New York. But there's some things that need to be drawn out a little further, and I'm going to do that tonight. I'm going to get into some stuff that may disturb you just a little bit. Let me start by telling y'all this. I have seen the video of the massacre in New York. I don't encourage anyone to watch that knowingly. I'm gonna just tell you that it is, to me, not probably a good idea to watch that video if you had the opportunity. It's not pretty. I'm gonna start tonight by first saying the names of those who were killed. Roberta Drury, 32 years old, who was, by the way, the youngest. And I'm going to make a point about that later on, too, so y'all stay tuned for that. Margus Morrison, 52. Andre McNeil, 53. Aaron Salter, 55. Geraldine Talley, 62. Celestine Cheney, 65. Hayward Patterson, 67. Catherine Massey, 72. Pearl Young, 77. And Ruth Whitfield, 86. Now, the three surviving victims: Rozier Goodman, 20 years old; Jennifer Warrington, 50; Christopher Braden, 55. Now, Goodman and Warrington have been treated and released from the hospital. Now, there are so many things that stand out in my mind about this incident, and I'm going to do my best to be as thorough as I can in this presentation, because it is so necessary to get as much of this information out and put it out there as possible. There's a lot, y'all. There's a tremendous amount of stuff involved in this. And I just want to make sure that I try and get as much of it in as possible, because it's taking a little bit of a toll on me. You know, I started preparing for this show the day that this happened, because I knew that this is something that I had to discuss. Now, let me specifically tell you why it's so important that I do this. For those of you that are regular listeners, if you remember, 2 weeks ago, I did a show called Roe v. Wade and What It Means to You. The fact that the Supreme Court was about to attempt, or is about to attempt, to bring down the Roe versus Wade law, the laws revolving around abortion in America. And one of the main things that my co-host and I talked about during that show was the great replacement theory. Now, this is something that I've been saying for a long time. Why? Because this is not a new phenomenon. It is now being more pronounced because of this weekend's events. Now they've given it an official mainstream name, GRT. Now, y'all know we talked about CRT being critical race theory. This is the Great Replacement theory, which, by the way, is now being, or has been over the last year or two, really pushed and forced by the Fox News Network, Tucker Carlson, and by a politician by the name of Elise Stefanik, who is bound and determined. She's literally got commercials out there talking about the Great Replacement theory. Now, normally we would just give it the brush off like we have been giving it. I mean, everybody's been giving it the brush off, really. But here's the problem. This shooter in Brooklyn, New York, has this as part of his manifesto, which is the reason why he specifically went after black people. And he directly went after black people in that area for a reason. We're going to get into that because I'm going to read you some of this manifesto. I happen to have it. I've got the manifesto and I've got the video. I am not going to show the video for obvious reasons. It's graphic, it's tragic, and it's not something that you probably are going to want to see. Now, one of the first things I'm going to talk about, there's this thing, and it's funny when we get older, the stuff that we're not aware of, right? We don't keep up with the children's language. We don't keep up with the youth, the things that they say that become part of the mainstream. Well, they have a word for people like this, let me say, alleged shooter. And I'm required to say alleged only because, of course, in this country, a person is not guilty until proven so, even though he was absolutely caught red-handed. Anyway, they have a couple of acronyms. One is called NEET, N-E-E-T. An NEET is an acronym for not in employment, education, or training. They call them NEETs. Now, these are your basic garden variety basement mama house dwellers who sit and play video games all day and don't have a life. And they also have another name for them, these types, who also fit along those same lines, which this guy, from what I understand, I've been told, is allegedly an incel. I-N-C-E-L. Now, what is an incel? I had to look this stuff up, y'all. My daughter brought this to my attention. She said he's probably an incel. And I said, well, what is an incel? So it turns out that he is, I believe, a self-proclaimed incel. An incel is a member of an online subculture of people who define themselves as unable to get a romantic or sexual partner despite desiring one. So in other words, they sitting over there on their computer games and this type of thing, and they cannot get the attention of the opposite sex. Incels are not only relegated to males. There are females as well. Men who consider themselves unable to attract women sexually, typically associated with views that are hostile toward women and men who are sexually active. So in other words, they some haters. They sitting in the basement on the games playing. Rodney Duke says, yep, heard of it. They feel they are owed a woman. Yes, Rodney, exactly. And in fact, have some very misogynistic views. Self-identified incels have used the internet to find anonymous support. So now think about this, y'all. And I'm going somewhere with this whole thing. See, this is an incel, internet-driven society in this group. They look for their support among others like them through the internet, right? Mass violence connected to incel ideology and increased public and academic scrutiny of incel communities online. So basically, they connect online during these, y'all see those video games, because like I don't play video games. I can't stand them. But when these people play these video games, they have these groups like, what is it, the fighting games where they go in there and they shoot up everything and that type of thing, and they have people all over the world on their team and they're all fighting together and this type of thing. This is the same way this incel sort of behavior works, and they connect up with each other because they basically live the same type of lives. Misogynistic incels use more extreme dehumanizing language and glorification of violence. Their belief systems and ideologies are developed from and supported by the cultural and societal context in which they live. Now, I'm saying that also to say this. They use, and I've heard this come up already since the beginning of this whole debacle, that they are wanting to blame, on some levels, video games. Well, to some degree, that may have some validity. However, while we are trying to do this whole video game thing, I want everybody to understand that that is not the reason. Now, before I go any further, I want to also mention right quick, just to show you, because we black folks, here we are, we all up in arms. Well, I ain't gonna say just black folks, there's some white folks too that are up in arms about everything that's taking place. But so far, there's a gentleman who was a New York Corrections Department officer, and he decided to make a very distasteful joke. And I'm not going to put the meme on the screen because, again, it's very distasteful. But he decided that making this meme would be funny, and he did it. He had something that said something like "clean up on aisle." They showed a picture of the store and had "clean up on aisle 2, 3, oops, 4," like that, right? Not funny at all. Anyway, fortunately, the New York Corrections Department has suspended this officer without pay after making what they call a despicable Facebook post about the Buffalo supermarket mass shooting. The department is seeking his termination. The department has engaged a civil rights task force, which for the potential for criminal prosecution as well. It will move to fire the longtime officer who made the joke about the recent mass shooting and denounced his vile posting, and it does not represent the morals and values of its staff. The department also launched an internal investigation to identify and discipline any staff who may have engaged in that Facebook post. Very tacky, very distasteful. But I don't need to tell you what race this fellow was. Now, I could be, people will sit here, and I already know there will be people who will come along and they'll see this show and they'll say, oh, you just race baiting. Oh, you just dividing us. Well, I'm going to tell you what. Today, we're not doing no gaslighting. We're going to keep it 100. We're going to tell it just like it is today. Because here's the real truth. If none of this was about race, and y'all are the ones who created, you complainers, this problem because of race, we're not going to sit here and act like this is a problem that black people have. This is a problem y'all have, and y'all need to straighten this out, okay? I am thankful that President Biden went on the record today and said that this is fear and lies being packaged for the purpose of power. That being because we have had news people and politicians making light of the great replacement theory. Now, let's talk about that right quick. Let me get into that. The great replacement theory. Now, you got to understand something. It's not new. This is the new name, GRT. This is the new way of explaining white people's distaste in the fact that other people have progressed and prosper in America. Dog whistles is what we used to call them. Now they've become train horns. They're no longer dog whistles. The Fox News propaganda machine should be held as an accomplice to these murders. This is white fear. Buffalo mass shootings linked to the replacement theory, fear of changing America. The Great Replacement Theory is the newest sort of name for a very old set of ideas. And the ideas at the bottom are that there's an evil group of elites who are seeking to eradicate the white race through a number of social programs ranging from immigration, intermarriage, abortion, gay rights, or even contact with black Americans. Now, I want y'all to think about that. That's a very large cross-section of America. But this is what they think are at the root of the white problem, white people's problems. Gays, immigration, black folks, interracial marriage, and abortion. Now remember, I just did a show 2 weeks ago, and I talked about Roe versus Wade and the new abortion laws and why they were put into place. I just did this show. These things were put into place for the simple reason that white people's populace is dwindling. They know this. This also is not new. Dennis McCullum, GRT, makes poor white people the attack dogs, which is exactly, thank you for that comment, what we just witnessed on Saturday. The power of the white world is threatened whenever a black man refuses to accept the white world's definitions and then forces their interpretations and definitions into the narrative to spin their evil intentions. Now, let's think about this. When Colin Kaepernick took a knee, Colin Kaepernick clearly stated that it was in protest to injustice, police brutality, and the fact that black people did not receive equal justice under the law. But that wasn't good enough for some people. So they then took the narrative and twisted it and created this hatred for anyone who protests their own abuse. In other words, you're going to take what we give you and you're not going to complain about it. He used his platform to bring light to injustice in the legal system for black people. And white people took it and said he was disrespecting the flag. He hated America. They silenced him, basically, took his job away. They did everything in their power to destroy and silence that man. See? Because this is what they do. They then change the narrative to fit what they wanted it to be. Same as they're doing now. Okay? Activists who follow this doctrine believe that the white race is under attack and that all of these social policies that we might think of as soft demographic change are actually a state of apocalyptic racial annihilation. So in this case, we see that documents that's circulating as this person's manifesto, his ideology, which is largely, and this guy's funny part is, here's my initial thought. He supposedly wrote a manifesto. I'm going to say allegedly wrote a manifesto. Now I want y'all to understand something. I've written a book. My book that I wrote was 192 pages. This guy's manifesto is 180 pages. Now, I want to put this in perspective. This dude is 18 years old. Now, I'm not by far calling him an idiot. And I'm not going to call him an idiot because I've read it. I've read most of it. And I've read the diary that he kept moving up toward the date of this action, which was deliberate as hell. This was not some random, I'm mad at the world, I'm going to go shoot up some shit. This was a calculated, premeditated, literal action that he planned months in advance. He literally wrote down in detail every single motion that he would make moving into this thing that he did. He literally This is probably his writings have so much clarity to them that it's unbelievable. And Dennis McCullum just made a point that I'm about to make. He can't claim mental illness. Oh, no, 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 no. But here's the problem, Dennis. He's not going to claim mental illness. He's extremely clear about what he was going to do. In one part of the manifesto, he actually says that he will turn himself in. What I find most striking about that is that he automatically knows, by virtue of being a white male, that he will have that opportunity. Unlike had he been a black man wielding that same weapon in any other situation, they would have shot him dead on the spot. He already knew they were going to do that for him. See? Now, calculated, yes. Absolutely. Crazy? Hell no. And I'm going to get to that part too. I'm stepping out a little bit. Now, this guy's part of this manifesto, by the way, was actually plagiarized. It was a copy and paste from, and I don't know if you all remember this, but there was a shooting at a place called Christchurch in New Zealand 3 years ago, where they targeted Islamic worshipers and immigrants at the mosque there. Well, this guy was his inspiration. A lot of that person's manifesto is part of what he used in his. So, even though it was 180 pages, he didn't write all of it. Now, the thing is, what we see in that doctrine is that this ideology is quite flexible. All this is a new name for an old set of racial hatreds. This is not. None of this is new. I'm gonna keep repeating that. Now, I want you to remember this. Well, before that, this is not a moral or religious imperative. It is a fear-based numbers game in which they are scared of losing power in the next 30 to 40 years due to low birth rates. Now, let's go back again to my show 2 weeks ago, where I specifically talked about low birth rates and the abortion laws, Roe versus Wade, and what it means to you. This is not a coincidence. This is what I'm pointing out to you. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Back in 2017, white supremacists marched in Charlottesville, Virginia. Remember that? Carrying torches and chanting, "Jews will not replace us." Great replacement theory in 2017. And what did the president say at that time? Oh, there are great people on both sides. Remember that? This was an echo of Nazi Germany. The rhetoric that they put out there, that's been resonating ever since with the right-wing Republicans. Yeah. The replacement theory espoused by conservative media figures like Fox News' Tucker Carlson, and it has seeped into the mainstream political discord in the capital region, and Representative Elise Stefanik has adapted the despicable tactic for campaign ads. And we probably have not seen these campaign ads because, of course, it's not our region. However, please understand that she is absolutely pushing this and has been pushing it for some time now. The white nationalist great replacement theory continues to grow in popularity within the Republican ranks. And here's what I want to know. Why has no reporter asked any of these people, particularly the ones that are running for office right now, why hasn't any of them asked them, do you denounce the great replacement theory? Especially now. Why? Because if you believe in the great replacement theory, then that means that your ideas and thoughts are aligned with this shooter in New York, which now explains, yes, you are a racist. What's wrong with these reporters? What's wrong with these journalists? See, they need to put a mic in my hand and put me on national TV. I wouldn't be there long. Y'all know that, because they'd be like, "Oh, we got to get rid of him. He's too edgy." Elise Stefanik is the third-ranked Republican in the House. She began running a series of campaign ads on Facebook on Wednesday invoking a racist conspiracy theory that falsely alleges that immigrants are being invited to the United States to replace white voters. See, they are using these fear tactics and these lies to get people who are too dumb to educate themselves about civics and how things really work. And they want everybody to believe that these people are walking across the border and casting votes. You remember Donald Trump did say he loves the uneducated, right? There's a reason he said that. Yeah. Here's the question. Where is the legislation to protect black lives like the one that they put in place for the Asians who have been protected by law now? Now, I wrote this earlier today. And fortunately, by this evening, yes, they have put some legislation on the table today about black lives being protected the same as the Asians. I don't know if it's going to work, because you know how we do. You know how they do. This is one of those, okay, let's put a Band-Aid on it right quick and let it go away. Now, you know they were banning books. Why? Because they wanted to keep kids from thinking or learning anything about what they're calling critical race theory, which actually isn't even a thing, because they don't teach it in schools. But what they don't want, because they said, oh, we don't want our children feeling bad about the history in this country, but they're okay with their children shooting up a grocery store because what they've read, they believe about Great Replacement. Well, I've yet to see one child die from a mass reading, but they blame the books for that. Fear and lies packaged, all for power. Now, keep in mind, y'all, that this Buffalo shooting was the 198th mass shooting since the beginning of 2022. That averages 10 attacks per week, and we're only 19 weeks into the year. Now, I want y'all to think about something. Because according to this, or actually, according to the shooter, he was indoctrinated supposedly into this way of thinking. And wow, I can't believe you just said that. Blacks need to stop killing one another and maybe black lives could matter. Please do not blame victims. He says himself that he is one of those people that was indoctrinated by the internet during COVID. You know, everybody was kind of sitting still and doing their thing, right? So wasn't nothing happening. All right, so he started reading these different things and doing these different things. Next thing you know, he starts to, I don't know how the hell you start hating when you had to have this hate in your heart to begin with. You had to. So anyway, he was radicalized online. I said that to say this. Be careful what you allow your children to be exposed to on the internet. And I say that because if you think about it, and this applies to everybody, black, white, otherwise, they're being raised by algorithms. Do you understand that even us, when we go on Facebook and all these different platforms, that they put particular information in front of us for a reason? This is not by happenstance. All of this is a direct result of what they see that we look at. They continue to put those things in front of you. This is an algorithm. That's what they call it. Our children are being raised by algorithms. He said himself in his manifesto that he was radicalized online. Now, his parents so far have blamed COVID because that's, I guess, what he said during COVID. He learned all of this. The authorities and news agencies have reported that he is being evaluated for mental illness. Isn't that always the go-to tactic when somebody white shoots up something or something like that? But when it's a black person, they're an animal, they're a thug, they're this, they're that. They have a bunch of adjectives for that. But then, if we notice, he's arrested and handled with kid gloves. Now, with that right there, I want to say that this bothers me. I'm going to put this up right quick. Pay attention to that right there. Those are all of the individuals, mass killers, who were all arrested. All of the white faces, you see them? All arrested, unharmed, with weapons. The black faces that you see, Tamir Rice, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, the list goes on, all shot down immediately, unarmed, and defenseless. This is not a coincidence. See? This is not a coincidence, y'all. Now, I want you to know that this particular killer chose his target. In fact, in his manifesto, I'm going to try to go straight to the page. He made the point of saying that he chose this particular. What do I do with my glasses? Doggone it. He chose this particular location specifically for a reason. And I want to point that out to you. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. No, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that in a minute before I go there. Let me give y'all a few highlights out of the manifesto itself. About me. He did like it's like a questionnaire almost to himself. My name is Peyton Gendron. I was born June 20th, 2003, which makes me 18 years old as of writing this. I am the sole perpetrator of the recent attempted mass shooting. I lived in Southern Tier, New York, all my life with both my parents and two brothers. I believe I am ethnically white since my parents' nationalities are from Northwestern Europe and Italy. I graduated high school with a Regents diploma with advanced designation. Okay. I'm currently enrolled in Sunny Broom with a major in engineering science. I would love to continue this, but there are bigger problems I'm more concerned with. I'm not a war fighter, nor have I been enrolled in any military or tactical training, so excuse any mistakes I make during my attack. I was never diagnosed with a mental disability or disorder, and I believe to be perfectly sane. Recently, I took my MBT1 test as seen below. Now, as you see, he clearly stated that he is in his right mind, which leads me to this. We always ask the wrong questions, y'all. When he was in school, he threatened to shoot up his school. Now, this is where the gaslighting starts, y'all. The deflection. The reason why right now I heard someone today say, how could you have been under mental evaluation and still go purchase a gun, which he was able to do legally. The reason is, here's the deflection, when he threatened to shoot up the school, rather than suspend him, rather than kick him out, rather than put him in the system as having made terroristic threats, they said, oh, we're going to evaluate him. He's okay. He's all right. Nothing ever came of it. Although he was as clear in his mind when he made those threats as he was when he carried out this killing on Saturday. Now, they're saying, okay, yeah, he had an evaluation for mental instability because he said he would kill a bunch of his classmates, right? Okay. He wasn't then and he isn't now mentally ill. He is, however, a man filled with hate. He is an animal thug murderer with no compassion for human life that is not white. He is very focused and very deliberate. He had parents who encouraged his behavior and his violent ways with gifts of firearms, and they either didn't pay attention or didn't care. And I'm going to say this again, the gun laws in this country will never change until black folks line up and all go get guns. See, y'all going to learn. We need to go to the stores in mass and purchase weapons. So now, they gave him the escape route of the potential for mental illness when he threatened to shoot up the school. And they was, oh, it's no big deal, you'll be all right. Right? Let that have been one of us. You'd have been charged with terroristic threats, you'd have been made a felon, and potentially spent some time in a mental institution as well as a prison. See? Now, this is the gaslight. So now, here he is, out here killing, and now it's, oh, he must really have been mentally ill. No, he's not mentally ill. He's a racist. He is a hateful person, a racist who knows exactly what he intended to do. And instead of them paying attention to that part, they say, oh, he must be crazy. Stop the gaslight. Please stop. That's their escape route. Mental illness. Every time any of this kind of stuff happens, the first thing, oh, he's in a mental evaluation, mental evaluation. No. These people know exactly what they want to do. They intend to kill. Simple. Let's stop giving them the out. He had an attack plan. He literally posted that plan online 30 minutes before he went and did what he was going to do. Now, he only had it open to certain members. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Discord and Twitch. I'm on both. And on Discord, you have your own server, and these people, you can pick and choose who's on there. So I'm thinking that he did this and he put it in front of the people that he wanted to see it. And it was 30 minutes prior to him actually pulling this off. Unfortunately, no one stopped him. Now, thing is this. Domestic terrorism itself is so deeply rooted in our society, in this country, that no one even realizes that it exists. Well, some folks don't realize that it exists because they are the domestic terrorists and don't even realize it. They are the enablers of domestic terrorism. Now let's think about this. When the Constitution was written, right? Second Amendment was put there to guarantee the right to bear arms for the purpose of fighting enemies, foreign and domestic, and to maintain a well-regulated militia. Here's the problem. The terrorists are the ones that wrote it. So, of course, they're not going to label themselves domestic terrorists. The same people who embrace that Second Amendment so closely are the same ones that want the right to maintain and bear arms for enemies foreign and domestic. Problem is, they want to use it against the foreigners who come to this country and want to be domestic. And let's also remember that when the Constitution was written, all of us in this skin color here was still in chains. 3/5 of a man and woman. So who were they going to fight? Well, I'll tell you. And this is the part that they don't tell you. I did a show about this last year, the year before. The real truth about the Second Amendment is that it was put there to maintain slavery. The reason for the militia was for slave patrols that were required by law. Every man, white man, over the age of 18 was required by law to purchase a military-style weapon at that time and participate at least once every 30 days in the patrols that patrol the roads around slave quarters to make sure there were no runaway slaves and to inspect slave quarters to make sure that there was no insurrection pending. They don't tell you that part in the history books. That is part of what they would, I guess, consider critical race theory, because then they'd have to tell the truth, because that's why they don't include black history as part of American history, which is why we have to have a whole Black History Month, because they're not going to tell you that part, because then they'd have to be telling the truth on themselves. Can't have that, because little white kids will feel bad. They'll feel bad. Oh. And they'll grow up to be 18 years old and go buy weapons and shoot up a grocery store full of black folks. Imagine that. But we're the problem. That's something. They had an uprising in Florida. James Knight, that is not the only place they had uprisings. Brother, there is a litany, a list of uprisings that took place over those years. I got a whole list of them. And then, let's also remember that after the period of the Emancipation Proclamation, we still had to deal with the black codes. We had to deal with Jim Crow, civil rights fights, assassinations. And the thing about that is, these so-called patriots, after having murdered thousands and thousands of black folks, 99% of whom, those folks who did it all, yes, thank you, Val Wells, the lynchings, have gone unpunished. They've gone unpunished. The lynchings, the hangings, you have white folks on pictures standing there pointing and smiling. Look at that. Strange fruit. Never to be charged, never to be reprimanded, never to be held account for their wrongdoing. But now, the fear that these things are changing has them thinking, well, we got to get rid of some of them, and we need more of us. No more abortions. No more immigration. We don't want nobody in here unless they skin is white. Y'all notice they not complaining about the Ukrainians being shipped over here? Imagine that. And they are being sent here. Very quietly. Oh yeah. Y'all, I gotta throw this in here though. Because this came to my attention. Because they want to use things like video games and COVID. They got all these excuses. And then we talk about our folks, and they talk about shooting and killing. And I saw somebody make this point the other day, and it made me think. What would happen if a country and western singer made a song about shooting up the bar and killing other white folks? He probably wouldn't get to make that song. But when it comes to us, have you noticed how we glorify these things? How we embrace, I'm going to shoot that so-and-so, I'm going to blow this up, I'm going to do this, that, and the other, all this negative stuff, and they just hit the top of the charts? Why is that? Y'all think that's a coincidence? I don't think that's a coincidence. I'm just saying. Anyway, back when Dylan Roof, shout out Mother Emanuel, killed those 9 people in that church, the anti-black hate crime bill was put on the table, and it stalled in Congress. Wonder why. Y'all think that's a coincidence? I don't think so. The anti-Asian hate crime bill passed with flying colors. The anti-lynching bill finally just got passed this year after 120 years of attempts for that law to get passed. And it finally went through this year. And at this point, I mean, you got to ask yourself, where we are now, what we just witnessed, does it matter? Now, I want y'all to pay attention to this. The shooter was very meticulous in choosing his target. In his manifesto, let me see if I can find this. Let's see. He wrote that all right, I can't find it. Anyway, he wrote specifically that he chose that zip code because it was the blackest zip code, more black people in that area that was closest to him. Now, he drove 4 hours, y'all, to this place. But it wasn't his first time doing it. He had done it multiple times because he actually cased this joint out for weeks in advance. In fact, I just saw a guy on the news today who said, I remember him. I saw him. I remember he had on the same ugly outfit. He remembered the guy being in the store before. He literally came there and walked the store multiple times. Now check this out. Again, this is part of how this thing was written. It's sort of like in a questionnaire format that he wrote it. Why did you choose, and they redacted that part, we all know where it was, for the place of attack? He said that it has the highest black population percentage per zip code, and isn't that far away. Plus, New York has heavy gun laws, so it would ease me if I knew that any legally armed civilian was limited to 10-round magazines or cooked firearms. I replaced the name of the city to redact it because I'd prefer that the FBI and local police don't know until the attack has started. See, he posted this half an hour before he did it. After the attack, can somebody switch it over for me, please? Now, he chose where he chose because let's remember, Roberta Drury, the youngest of this group, 32 years old. Margus Morrison, 52. Andre McNeil, 53. Aaron Salter, 55. Geraldine Talley, 62. Celestine Cheney, 65. Hayward Patterson, 67. Catherine Massey, 72. Pearl Young, 77. Ruth Whitfield, 86. Now, what do these people have in common? They're all basically elderly, except for the 132-year-old, who I believe was a store employee, which if I'm going to go out on a limb and say she was probably the very first one killed in the parking lot, because he jumped out of his vehicle and immediately leveled his weapon at the very first person that he saw, and I believe that that was her. I could be wrong, but I believe that it was. Uh-oh. I got the wrong picture up, y'all. I'm sorry. Let me put the right one up. I said that to say that these people, all of whom are basically up in age. Okay, there's the right picture, y'all. I'm sorry. Up in age, Dennis McCullum said, soft targets. Absolutely correct. Not only is this area an easy target because they know that no one will legally be basically carrying a weapon, these were all elderly people. Not only were they all mostly elderly people, they were mostly women. Elderly black women. See? Let's talk about Mother Emanuel, South Carolina. Got shot up. Dylan Roof, 9 people killed. Who will be sitting in the church prayer service carrying a weapon? See? You see where I'm going with this? This is the type of cowardice that comes from these incels. Now, he was very meticulous about how he went about it, but his point was, one of his points was that he hoped to get the gun laws changed in the future. Okay? Now, he says, the question is, do you consider the attack an act of terrorism? He says himself, by definition, yes. But I believe it is a partisan action against an occupying force. So black folks are considered an occupying force, according to him, and the Great Replacement theory. Do you feel any remorse for the attack? I don't know. I haven't done it yet. Stupid. But if I were to guess, I would say yes. Did or do you personally hate blacks? A black man or woman living in their homeland? No. A black man or woman choosing to invade our lands, live on our soil, live on government support, and attack and replace our people? Yes, I dislike them. The only people I truly hate are the converts, those from our own people that turn their backs on their heritage, turn their backs on their cultures, turn their back on their traditions, and become blood traitors to their own race. They are not completely hopeless, however. I believe some can come back. So it's important to welcome them when they are awoken instead of shaming and ostracizing them. See the mentality here? Yep. Well, he said, did you intend to kill police officers or other enforcers of the state? No. Although modern police officers exist to serve the elite, many of them are of decent character, and it would make me very upset if I killed one. But only you know if I did. Now, he also made it a point in his diary, and when he was talking about how he was going to carry out these actions, that he was going to kill the police officer security guard by shooting through the window. And if you looked at any of the footage, you would see that he did fire straight through that window and did kill that officer. The officer did return fire. However, this guy was wearing armor. He was wearing the bulletproof vest and those sorts of things, so it did not affect him. Are you a fascist? Yes, fascism is one of the only political ideologies that will unite whites against the replacers. Since that is what I seek, calling me a fascist would be accurate. Now let's remember again, he continues to use the term replacer. These replacers, this replacement theory, is the same theory pushed by Fox News, Tucker Carlson, and by Elise Stefanik, that is third ranking member in the House GOP. They are all buying into this. So in other words, they're telling you, based on what we're seeing and reading, based on their own words, they're basically letting you know we are racist and we are out to get y'all. We're going to get you one way or the other. Y'all better wake up. And like they say, they don't like woke folks. Yeah, they want you to stay asleep. Y'all better wake up. This is not a coincidence, y'all. Are you a racist? Yes, I am, because I believe in differences of capabilities between races. Are you intolerant? Sure. The last virtues of a dying nation are tolerance and apathy, and I want none of it. See, they will adopt this theory, and maybe we should too. See, tolerance is the reason why this keeps happening. Forgiveness, y'all. Let me tell y'all about forgiveness right quick. I want to do this forgiveness part. I've been wanting to do this. I'm gonna tell y'all about this forgiveness. And this, I got this particular writing from an individual off of a message board that I frequent. Very important. We are to forgive, but forgiveness has been twisted to be about letting someone off the hook and letting down your guard. Churches are guilty of this. They conflate not seeking vengeance with not seeking justice. It would be stupid to not protect yourself and allow yourself to be vulnerable to and give access to someone who wants to actively do you harm. Forgiveness is meant to allow you to move on and not be tied to a moment of trauma or let that trauma control you. But in my opinion, one of the things that allows people to move on and heal is to get justice. Forgiveness for sins is a bit different. But even then, being forgiven for them doesn't mean there are no consequences. Okay? Y'all got that. Now, here's another funny point to that. Yes, Enrique Shepard, you're absolutely right. That is all we do, and we need to stop it. The issue with it is that when people and reporters ask black people about it in these situations, it's not because they care. They just want assurances that they aren't going to rile other black folks up to seek revenge. They want them to call for calm, etc. It pisses me off seeing folks asked about it while the bodies of their dead loved ones are still warm, before they can even process the tragedy or work through their anger and grief. See? You want to know what black folks' problem? That's one of our problems. We're too damn forgiving. Now, there's a lot more to this whole manifesto. Well, actually, I'm going to go ahead and read the other important things that stood out to me right quick. Cheryl Smith says they don't care. No, Cheryl, you're absolutely correct. And that is the part that we mistake. Let me tell you something about human nature. And I notice this in people, and I don't know if I'm becoming more cynical, critical. I don't know what it is, but one thing that we make an enormous mistake about, and that is when we sit there and we automatically assume that everybody else feels the way we do, that everybody else is going to treat us the way we treat them. That is a colossal, tragic mistake that we make. And because we act that way, we get upset and get in our feelings when somebody slights us or does something wrong to us because we wouldn't do it to them. Man, y'all better wake up. It's not how the world works. I'm sorry. What you need to know. This is in the manifesto. And this was one of the first paragraphs in it. If there's one thing I want you to get from these writings, it's that white birth rates must change. Every day, the white population becomes fewer in number. To maintain a population, the people must achieve a birth rate that reaches replacement fertility levels. In the Western world, that is about 2.06 births per woman. The only white country that reaches these levels is Argentina with 2.247. And by the way, they're having inflation issues that are tremendous right now. People are fighting in the streets. But not in Europe, not in the rest of the Americas, not in Australia or New Zealand. White people are failing to reproduce, failing to create families, failing to have children, but despite this sub-replacement fertility rate, the population in the West is increasing rapidly. How is this possible? Mass immigration and the higher fertility rates of the immigrants themselves are causing this increase in population. We are experiencing an invasion on a level never seen before in history. Millions of people pouring across our borders legally, invited by the state and corporate entities to replace the white people who have failed to reproduce, failed to create the cheap labor that's necessary. In 2050, despite the ongoing effect of sub-replacement fertility, the population figures show that the population does not decrease in line with the sub-replacement fertility levels, but actually maintains, and even in many white nations, rapidly increases. Although immigration, this is ethnic replacement, this is cultural replacement, this is racial replacement, this is white genocide. See what I'm saying? Why did you decide to carry out this attack? To show to the replacers that as long as the white man lives, our land will never be theirs. Our land? Really, bruh? And they will never be safe from us. Now, you heard that, right? They will never be safe from us. I want y'all to understand that what he's saying, this is not some lone wolf stuff. This is a mainstream Republican right here. Don't get this twisted. This guy thinks exactly like those people who vote Republican every single election cycle. Y'all better wake up. And if you think not voting is smart, or you doing something big, I'm not going to vote, you're not helping yourself. I'm not saying that one is much better than the other one, but at least one of them ain't trying to kill your people like that and get away with it. To directly reduce immigration rates to European lands by intimidating and physically removing the replacers themselves. To intimidate the replacers already living out on our lands to immigrate back to their home countries. Now you hear that? He wants to intimidate, strike fear in the hearts of those who are not white in America and drive them back to their homelands. This is their intent. Think about that. Dennis McCullum, he says, if the abortion laws don't change, they will make it illegal for blacks and Hispanics, to have sex. Hey, look, bro, you see that they've actually last week floated the idea of making contraception illegal. This is not a coincidence. This is why I do this show. Y'all got to see what I'm talking about. This ain't by happenstance. This is a whole plan. The GOP, the Republicans, y'all lawmakers, the people who you allow to get into office because y'all don't vote, I ain't voting. These are the people that are making the laws. And the people that are put into these offices, it's our fault whoever goes there. Ultimately, we make the choice about who goes there. And the more of us that sit down and say, we ain't getting involved in that, the more opportunity they have to do it. Somebody got to stand up and say something. You may be one vote, but doggone it, they add up. Don't be stupid. to agitate the political enemies of my people into action, to cause them to overextend their own hand and experience the eventual and inevitable backlash as a result. See that? To incite violence, retaliation, and further divide between the European people and the replacers currently occupying European soil. This is not European soil. To show the effect of direct action, lighting a path forward for those that wish to follow, a path for those that wish to free their ancestors' lands from the replacers' grasp, and to be a beacon for those that wish to create a lasting culture, to tell them they are not alone, to create an atmosphere of fear and change in which drastic, powerful, and revolutionary action can occur. You hear that? Revolution. To add momentum to the pendulum swings of history, further destabilizing and polarizing Western society in order to eventually destroy the current nihilistic, hedonistic, individualistic insanity that has taken control of Western thought. Most of all, it was to spread awareness to my fellow whites about the real problems the West is facing, and to encourage further attacks that will eventually start the war that will save the Western world, save the white race, and allow for humanity to progress into more advanced civilizations. Now, right here, I want to point out something very important. When I read this next sentence, Austin Riley, you're correct. There have been attempts to start a race war, but let me tell you what the flaw in that thinking is. While there is not, I'm not going to say a small contingent, but there are not as many of them as they think they are. There are, of course, black people are going to fight in their own best interest, but there are equally as many, if not more, white people who are against that ideology than there are that are for it. I don't see a race war ever becoming a thing. I see people like this as people who stir the pot. However, if we are not careful politically, we will place ourselves in a position where laws will be legislated and overturned that will be to our demise. And it's not that what we will be doing wrong, we will be doing anything wrong to save our own skin, but it will be illegal to save your own skin, the same way it was during slavery. This is why it's so damn important to vote, y'all. All right. Now I'm going to read this next part. What do you want? His answer is, we must ensure the existence of our people and a future for white children. That particular statement is not his own. That particular statement refers to what you see written on that rifle in front of you on your screen right now. The number 14. That particular number is associated with neo-Nazis, and that is 14, which are what they refer to as the 14 words. The 14 words, I'm going to say them again. We must ensure the existence of our people and a future for white children. That's what that 14 means. Now I want you to pay further attention to that rifle. At the very front of that rifle, on the scope, right before he pulls the trigger to kill that young lady standing in front of him, it says nigger. Now, if you see or run across a white person and you see that they have the number 14 or 1488 or 8814 tattooed, written, stamped, plastered, painted, or anything else anywhere near them, they are a racist. 14 are the 14 words that I just read to you. The 88 is for HH. HH is the Nazi symbol for Heil Hitler. That's one to grow on. Okay? Now, I want y'all to understand that as it stands right now, we as a society of black people make the mistake of placing guns in the wrong context. There is a necessity for us to not only understand them, but to also own them and to also use them when necessary for the preservation of ourselves and our families. Don't get this game twisted. Now pay attention to the weapon that you see in front of you. On the butt, one of the things that it says is here's your reparations. Okay? Here's your reparations. Okay? Now, also, wait a minute, on that gun, you'll see where it says BLM. Buck broken on the butt. Okay? You know what that means? That talks about buck breaking. This is, in his mind, his form of buck breaking. Now just remember, y'all, he didn't pull this stuff out of his ass. All of this came from somewhere. All of this is part of his indoctrination. There's a part in that video, as disturbing as it is, where the gunman is, as he's walking through the store and killing indiscriminately. I say indiscriminately, but actually it wasn't indiscriminately. He walked over to a register. Beneath that register, there was a white male curled up in the fetal position. And he screamed, "No, no, don't kill me." And the shooter immediately raised his gun and said, "Oh, sorry." And I mean very calmly, "Oh, I'm sorry." And pointed his gun elsewhere as he continued his rampage. I just want to know, why do the police handle these mass murderers so gently and reverently? Why don't they slam their heads against cars the same way Donald Trump said that they should do criminals? Did y'all know that following morning, that Sunday morning, that there was another attempt at a mass shooting? Another alleged white supremacist entered the True Bethel Church with a gun on Sunday morning. Several officials, including New York Governor Kathy Hochul, were attending the worship. The governor was present as security apprehended the savage before he could shoot anyone. Yeah, that happened with the governor and their security. Another interesting tidbit. It came out, I believe it was yesterday, that the first two officers on the scene to reach this shooting were white. And because of this, seemingly, was the reason why this guy was taken into custody so easily and surrendered. I can only imagine what would have happened, and the Buffalo Police Department suspects that if the first cops who showed up were black, this shooter would have engaged them in a gunfight. Although he did say clearly in his manifesto that he would turn himself over and plead guilty. Now, it also came out that he planned to leave the grocery store and go on a rampage throughout the community, taking out as many black folks as he could. So in other words, this incident could have had a higher body count if things had gone in a little bit different direction. Now, the Buffalo shooter did say in his manifesto that his action would help to push new gun legislation to help people like him. He said specifically he chose this area because of New York strict gun laws. He knew that no one there would be armed, and he also knew that even if by chance they were, it would only be limited to 10 rounds, thus allowing him to wreak havoc at will on anyone and everyone he chose to murder. So the people who are obsessed with white birth rates and domestic infant supplies, the new thing that's going on, these are the same people who got rid of the child tax credit, put tariffs on baby formula. Y'all do know that's part of the reason why we don't have much formula, right? This was Donald Trump. He put the tariffs on all of the formula coming from overseas and all of that. Yeah, this is part of the reason why. See. I don't see or hear any pro-lifers standing up saying things like, let's make laws to stop white supremacists. Where are the pro-life people when black people are being murdered? I don't see them saying anything. I guess it only applies to babies. Is that it? Pro-life? But you can kill them. They're not white. See, this is not a coincidence. All of this ties together. Makes you wonder if they're getting tips from state-sanctioned terrorist network. I don't know, y'all. This is the only country, well, I don't know, let me not say that. But in America, in 2022, they banned books that teach the history of racism because it might make white kids uncomfortable. But white kids live stream racially motivated killings that are a direct result of the hatred and racism that the history of America has brought us. How ironic. Red Pill Mike says that Democrats are the only villains in this story. Red Pill Mike, you have a nice day. You're blocked. I'm not dealing with that today. Yeah, okay. Anyway, see, this is the type of racism I'm talking about. They just come in and say and do whatever they want. We have to block people like that right out of here. We can't have that. And he probably agrees. He probably agreed with everything that this guy did. This is my whole point. It has become now where Republicans literally might as well just be called the racist party and be done with it. Republicans, racist. The end. That's what it's amounting to. Because everything that they stand for has everything to do with them making sure that black people, people of color, anybody else in this country that's not white gets taken down or taken out. I didn't hear you. Oh. No, I'm not. See, here come the producer lady, y'all. This guy is not a lone wolf. This is a mainstream Republican that shot that store up. Just like the guy that I just blocked on here. Same thing. They're all around us. All around us. Not all of them are bold enough to go shoot up a store, but you get my point. All right, y'all. These are the same people like this guy right here. The first thing out of their mouth, they're going to holler, oh, he was mentally ill. Oh, what about Chicago? What about black on black crime? That's their go-to statements, y'all. That's what they do. They love that. All right. Y'all. Oh, and one other thing. Well, man, skip that. I ain't doing that. Look, y'all know what? I've had enough. I've been dealing with this for a few days now, and it's time for me. It's time to stop. Before I complete, though, we've already talked about this Elise Stefanik, but I want to read to y'all a statement that she made after she has been blasted, and I do mean blasted because they've been dragging her on Twitter and other places for her statements about great replacement theory. She says in a statement on Monday, "Our nation is heartbroken and saddened to hear the tragic news of the horrific loss of life in Buffalo, New York. As a New Yorker, I'm praying for the entire community and loved ones. It is a tragic reminder as we begin National Police Week. The hell does that have to do with anything? That we must particularly thank and honor our law enforcement and first responders who continue to face skyrocketing violent crimes across the nation." That was her statement. And then she turned around and her senior advisor came back and said any implication or attempt to blame the heinous shootings in Buffalo on the Congresswoman is a new disgusting low for the left. Sound just like the guy I just blocked. They're never Trump allies and the sycophant stenographers in the media. The shooting was an act of evil and the criminals should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Despite sickening and false reporting, Congresswoman Stefanik has never advocated for any racist position or made a racist statement. What is great replacement theory if it's not a racist statement? Now, all of a sudden, her and that clown on Fox News have become the victims. They're victims now, y'all. They are now, oh, I can't believe you're blaming us. Oh, my God. We got 10 dead folks, but suddenly they're the victims. This is what we're dealing with. These are the kind of people, and if you think these people are going to behave any differently, if you think they're going to treat you the way you would treat them, if you think these people are going to have compassion for humanity or life, especially if you black, you better wake up. I'm just calling it like it is, y'all. I'm tired of sugarcoating. I'm tired of playing these games. I'm tired of people walking around like, oh, it's going to be all right. It's not going to be all right. During a congressional hearing on April 14th, Representative Scott Perry claimed, "We're replacing national-born American, native-born Americans to permanently transform the political landscape of this very nation." In a campaign video released on April 11th, Representative Lauren Boebert falsely claimed that Democrats want borders wide open, alleging that this helped Democrats take over the entire state of California in the past. Lies and fear, y'all. That's all they got. This is what we're dealing with, y'all. 2 days later, on April 16th, while appearing on Fox Business, Senator Ron Johnson attacked Democrats on immigration, asking, is it really they want to remake the demographics of America to ensure that they stay in power forever? Is that what's happening here? The theory has had deadly real-world implications. It was cited in a manifesto left behind by the white supremacists who shot and killed 51 people and injured 40 in two mosques in Christchurch in New Zealand in 2019. The idea was also invoked by neo-Nazis who protested in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017, using the slogan, "Jews will not replace us." Y'all better wake up. Let me tell you something. None of this is coincidental. This ties directly in with the new abortion laws. This ties directly in with these killings. This ties directly in with politics. The GOP, who is running rampant racism with dog whistles. This is not a coincidence. Y'all better vote in November. I'm telling you now. Y'all think the Supreme Court picks that were allowed because we didn't vote is a joke? Y'all better wake up, man. Tyrone Bentley says Republicans would take us back to slavery if they could. They're more worried about the women's body and wearing a face mask during a pandemic than racism that's going on in our country. We have fruits and nuts in Congress. No matter how hard they make it, we need to get out and vote. Absolutely correct. Y'all better wake up, man. I'm telling you, we keep going down the road that we're on. You're not going to have to worry about whether you want to vote or not. You're not going to be able to. I don't know what makes anybody think that we cannot return to the laws and craziness that we once had in this country. We're too comfortable. We're too complacent. That's got to stop. Keep playing. Y'all better go vote. All right, y'all, ladies and gentlemen, I'm tapped out, man. I'm tapped out. I've done enough for the day. I've done enough for the week in regard to this story. I need to relieve myself of this trauma porn, because that's what this is. But I have to decompress. But the sad part is I can't decompress because I'm still a black man in America, and I still have to walk out my door every day and deal with the realities of the world we're living in, coupled with the realities that other people are living in that are delusional and half-cocked and crazy. Saw a guy walking out of my subdivision yesterday carrying a flag denouncing Joe Biden and talking about Donald Trump and some other nonsense. Great big flag. He walking down the street with it. These are the people that we have to live with every single day. This is not a joke. I don't do this because I don't have nothing else to do. Trust me, I got a lot of other stuff to do. But I need to make sure that, look, somebody got to say it. So I'm saying it. I'm saying what got to be said. I'm doing what got to be done. And it's as simple as that. Y'all watch your back. Take care of yourselves. Keep your eyes open. Keep your head on a swivel. Because shit's getting wild out here. And I promise you this. If this next election cycle goes anything crazy, it's only going to get worse. This is not going to get better. It's going to get worse. Y'all better vote. And I'm going to leave it right there. I want to thank everybody for coming and hanging out with me and listening, paying attention. And I hope I planted some seeds that will at least lead you to give some thought to what I'm saying, or move in directions that are going to make it all better for the rest of us. But we got to do it, and we got to do it together, y'all. So I want everybody to have yourselves a fantastic weekend. Get you some good sleep tonight. Love your life. Kiss your loved one and all that good stuff. I'm gone, y'all. I can't do no more. I'm out. Peace. Thank you. Oh, I'm gone. Goodbye. Bye.